In July 1919, Washington, D.C. became another vicious city that was reported in the local media about a series of alleged assaults on white women by black men. White veterans, emboldened by the racist rhetoric circulating in the newspapers, decided to take judgment into their own hands. They formed a cartel and began to roam around the black neighborhoods, seeking revenge for those supposed attacks. These assaults were rarely verified, but the accusations were enough to ignite a firestorm of violence. For several days, a group of whites who were former soldiers caused chaos in the streets of Washington, D.C. They were assaulting any black person they came across. Unlike in other cities, however, African Americans in Washington were better prepared to defend themselves. Several black veterans who had served in World War I were organized to protect their neighborhoods. They were armed with rifles, and they returned fire to make it known that they would not allow the white mischief to attack them without a fight. This act of self defense was remarkable, as it showcased the courage and determination of Black Americans who refused to be victims of racial violence. Regardless of this resistance, the violence continued for almost a week. The federal government that was located a few blocks away did little to intervene. The city's law enforcement were overwhelmed by the intensity of the violence. They were partially involved in the conflict, siding with the white hoodlums. This happened until federal troops were finally deployed, and then the violence began to subside. When the war had ended, a total of 15 people were found dead, 10 white and 5 black, and hundreds were injured. The Washington, D.C. riot was a clear picture that racial violence and inequality wasn't confined to the depth of the South or rural areas, but also could happen in the very heart of the American government. It also revealed the deep racial injustice within the U.S. military and law enforcement, agencies that ought to protect all citizens, but often stirred up the violence against African Americans.